Hey everyone, welcome to Darren's Bass Lessons. So today we're going to have a look at recording bass. We're going to look at three methods. We're going to go straight into an audio USB Scarlett 18i20, and that's going to be recorded straight into Logic Pro. We're then going to look at some outboard gear, which is Warm Audio's WA12 and clone of the 1176. We're going to go through those straight into the DAW, and also we're going to take a line out into the bass guitar and mic the cab and record the mic'd up cab into the DAW along with a DI signal from my Agila bass amp. So the whole point in today is to have a look at recording bass, or any instrument really, but recording bass guitar with gear that we might have in our home studios at home. So not so much the highest end gear what you get in a professional recording studio, but stuff which we might have at home. So number one is an audio interface. If you've got a computer, you've got a basic setup. Number two, sometimes I bought a little bit of outboard gear, so like the compressor which I've got here and the preamp. Not really high end, you know, I think I paid for the pair of them around about £1,000 or something, but which isn't bad for two high quality pieces of gear. And obviously we've got the bass amp, which most of us have got the bass and the bass amp, but we've got the mic as well. I'm using an AKG 214, which is a middle of the road 260 quid microphone. It's a pretty good mic actually. It's great for like rap vocals and things like that, recording acoustic guitars, really nice. So when you buy something like this, which is a condenser microphone, you're going to be able to use it in lots of different applications. Okay, so we'll get straight to it. We'll switch the DAW one, which is a digital audio workstation. Mine's Logic Pro X, and we'll get started. So, first things first, we need a bass. And here I have my lovely 2015 4-string Fender Jazz Bass Deluxe. The first of today's method is right down here on the bottom. This little Focus 18i20 second generation audio interface. Now what we can do, we can plug directly into the audio interface here from our bass and set a track up in our DAW, which is your digital audio workstation or whatever is going to be receiving the signal later on down the line. So here I have my Apple Mac Mini, and that is where I'll use Logic Pro to record the bass in. The next one is I'm going to use this orange thing here. Now this is called preamp or mic pre. So we're going to use the Warm Audio WA12 Mark II. We're going to go in through there, and then I'm going to take it into this compressor here. I'm going to tickle it a bit with this clone of an 1176 by Warm Audio. That's then going to hit the computer later on. And thirdly, the good old fashioned method here. We've got the bass head. You can see the DI here, so we've got a direct out on this bass head. We're going to plug the bass into here. If I make my way down, you can see the cabs underneath, 2x10 there, and there it is. There's the microphone. We're just going to use today an AKG 214. It's a mid-price microphone, about 270 quid I think. And what we're going to do there, we're going to record the bass through the mic, and on another track we're going to record it coming out of that DI there, with the leads coming out on the right hand side. Okay, so let's get to it. So first thing is, here I am, squashed in against my workstation and things. So I've got the bass, plugged the input jack into the bass, the lead then passes straight through into input 1 of the audio interface. So we've got it switched on here. And what I'm also going to do as well is, because I've put an instrument cable straight in to here, I want to engage the instrument channel here. I'm just going to take the volume right down on that for now. So channel 1, instrument volume there, and then my next thing is to open the session up on my DAW here on the Mac. So I'm just going to go straight into Logic Pro and create a session. Here we go. So what I need to do there, I need to go an audio track, not a MIDI track. It's not using sounds out of the computer. So I've got an audio track, input 1 selected, matches up to input 1 here. This is USB'd in, by the way, and I create that track there. And there we go. I've got a track coming into input 1. Now if I start to play the bass, I can see a signal coming up on input 1 here, and I can see a signal reading here on the meter at the side. Okay, so nothing's coming out of the speakers yet. I've got to hit this yellow button here. So straight away we're starting to get a signal coming through there. Okay, and the most important thing to do here, keep an eye on your meters. So we're just going in clean, there's no compression on this, there's no EQ on this or anything. And I always try to keep this input here at -18, which in old money is 0 on your VU. So if I just get a VU up on here, let's have a look what we've got. So if I go into Klanghelm, I'll put this one on. There we go. So we've got. So it's been calibrated to -18 here. So it's just getting a good signal. I've got -9.2 on there. So I want to make sure that I'm not hitting it too much. I can pad it, bring down the level. Let's have a look what I'm getting there. So we've got -23. A little bit quiet, but we're going to see how this works anyway. So we'll have a go with it. So I'll take the pad off. So we're going to have a look at comparing our 3 different ways of recording bass through the DI, through the warm audio stuff here, or through the bass amp with the DI at the same time. So we get an idea of how the sound sounds. I know we're rating -5.6 there, so we've gone in a little bit too hot there, but not to worry, we know that we recorded the track in there. Okay, so in our next example, we're going to have a go through the preamp, the outboard preamp, and then the compressor, and see if we get a different sound or a better tone from that. Take my jack plug, plug it into here. Now I want to hit the high Z on that. I'll switch that up, and
4:1 ratio.
Put the compressor on, it's the standard setting. 7-up setting, 10.2 there. I'll just turn the output down on that, and then we've got the amount of gain reduction there. So on here, we're going to get a signal, so we can see that we're peaking quite high on the preamp there. So we can pad that, or I can bring the gain down on the front here. This adds a bit of warm distortion anyway. So we're getting it just hitting up on that there. Got some gain reduction there. So we get our signal going into the preamp, and then you can see the needle moving. And that's getting a bit heavy there at 5, 7, -7. So I just want to tickle it around about 3 mark, just for this example. Just take it down a touch. Right, okay, now you see we're getting no signal into here, so I've got to start gaining up a little bit on the output of the compressor, because these are the last thing in the chain before we hit the computer. We're now going to record an example of that into the computer. Off we go. Okay, so that's the more expensive way to go in there. So we're not just going straight into an audio interface here. We're first going through the warm audio gear. It then passes through the USB still in here into the computer. Possibly and hopefully, for the money these cost, we're going to get a slightly higher quality sound. Okay, so you'll see over here then, we've got the Agila Tonehammer 500, which is my working head, bass amp head. It's a great amp. And then strangely I've got some TC electronic cabs under here. I had a TC Electronic full system, but I didn't like the RH750 head, and I've used the Agila for years. I've had all sorts of Agila stuff, so I just put the head on top of that. It sounded great to me. I've also got the 1x12 underneath, which is fantastic. Okay, so if you can see here, simply took the DI out of the bass amp, and this is going to go into the audio, straight into the audio interface, and that's just going to give us a clean DI signal. But the microphone here, which is on a bit of a kick, but I'll sort that out in a minute. Now this is just a AKG 214. Middle of the road mic, and that's the whole point of what we're doing here, is to look at gear which isn't too expensive or costly, gear which you would have in your home studio. So I've got the 214 just on the edge of the 10-inch speaker on the bottom there. I could put it on the top. On the top one's got a driver in it actually, a bit more high end in there. I've just got it on this one just for the purposes of our video, just to show what we do. And this microphone here, I've got this linked up back again into the WA12 warm audio preamp, and the compressor is just going to tickle this sound signal going into the computer. So we're going to set all that up over there and we'll give this a whirl. Okay, so here we're back over in the hot seat. So we've got the WA12 again and the compressor. Now these are going to be working with the microphone. So we don't need the high Z input here, so I can unplug that or I can leave it in and just disconnect it from there. But what we do need, because that is a condenser microphone over there, we need the 48 volt there, which will power the microphone. Okay, and then our next thing is, now I'm just going to make 2 more tracks on here, so we've got another bass part. So on here, I'm going to create the number 3 again here, which is these guys. And I'm just going to name this so we don't get lost now. So this is bass mic, which will be running through the preamp and the compressor. And then the other one, we're going to take the DI. I'm just going to stick him into number 1 here. So I'm going to look at audio. I want to select input number 1. There we go. We'll just call him bass DI. Okay. What we'll need to do is select both of these tracks later on so they're both working at the same time and picking the signal up. But just for this little part here, we'll have a look at just the bass mic. So what I need to do here now is not plug in to anything over here, but I'm going to plug into the bass amp, and we're going to get the mic giving us a signal. That's when I plug in, unmute, and I'm on. Back up here, we're going to go through the warm audio and the WA12, the WA12 and the 1176, and let's get. Now we can hear that lovely sound coming out of that gorgeous bass amp behind us, and I just want to see a signal coming up on here. Okay, so we've got our bass signal there. Now I can gain it up a little bit. If I gain it here, it's going to shove a bit more through the compressor without me messing with the compressor settings. Just depends how much I want to drive this, so I'll drive it a bit, give it a bit more character. Okay, right, so that's that bit done. You're going to hear that come through nice and clear in a minute. So then we're going to get the DI lead. There's my DI. So next we get our DI lead, and I'm going to stick him in number 1 like that. Don't need to press the instrument on here because we're in with the mic lead. Then we've got to bass DI here. So I'm getting a nice healthy signal there, -17. That'll do for me. Highlight both tracks and record arm. Now I don't particularly want to hear it back because I can hear it through the bass amp anyway, so I just want to make a recording just of the amp and the warm audio gear coming through, and then just a simple DI straight into the Scarlett 18i20 there. So here we go. So there's a quick example of how it sounds using all of those methods put together, and you'll find that a lot of recording engineers do that. They want the bass sound here, they want to get the bass mic, but they also want to get the bass DI signal. So what we can do then here in Logic Pro to get this working is we can start to apply our effects and blend these two sounds. So based on a method which I learned myself from YouTube actually, but from the great Warren Hewitt and Produce Like a Pro, the way he does this is he takes the bass mic, grabs an EQ, I'm just going to do this very quickly, and on the amp he just wants to hear the character of that higher end area of the bass here. Okay, and then he wants to get the preciseness at the bottom end from the DI. So what you do there, he'll wipe out anything from around where we left off with the other. So this is just roughly, and then mix in the two signals together until you get so much you're pretty satisfied with. And then you can have a look at that as later on applying your next effect. So you might want to bring in another compressor, or you might want to bring in the MV2, and then when you finished all that, you might want to create what I call, you want to create what's called a track stack. Bring them all together, sum them together. Once you've blended it, got it sounding pretty good, and then again you can apply more compression or EQ or drive or saturation or whatever you want to do. But that's all in another lesson there. What I wanted to do today was just demonstrate a few little ways of getting the sound from your bass into your DAW, which is your digital audio workstation. This one's Logic Pro X here. So what I was looking at there today is just how we can record bass into our DAW, Digital Audio Workstation. So mine's Logic Pro X, yours maybe GarageBand, you might have Cubase or Pro Tools or Reaper or whatever you use. The principle of actually getting a great quality sound of the instrument into your computer is pretty much always the same. Okay, so you got to remember a few things there. So aim for around the -18 dB on the fader, so you want the -18 in there. You can go straight into an audio interface, make sure your bass is in tune, plugged in, sounding good, nice strings. And the other way, which is the most popular way, is to go through the amp, pick the speaker up with a mic, and then use the DI at the same time, blend the two signals until you get a really nice sound. There it is, recording bass using pretty much budget gear really. The amp isn't that budget I suppose, but the microphone, reasonably priced, AKG214s, loads of other mics which probably do the job better. Some mics, you know, SM57 for instance, you could try that. It's just trying things out for yourself. You can buy a dedicated DI box pedal, which I've not used this today, but this is made just for the job of recording bass or for live bass sound, and you can sculpt your sound and things like that. I've actually got a video on that somewhere on YouTube. Okay, so I hope that gives you something to have a look at. Thanks for listening.